The spare. That's what my father called me. Not in anger, but as a simple, cold statement of fact. My brother, David, was the heir, the golden child. I was a ghost in my own family, a background character in their story. I got hand me downs, suspicious glances, and a constant feeling of being in the way. I tried to prove them wrong, working jobs, getting good grades, even covering for David when he started slipping. Nothing mattered. They saw what they wanted to see, a convenient scapegoat. That's how I ended up on the street at 17. David wrecked his car while drunk, and I took the blame, hoping for some shred of loyalty in return. Instead, my father pointed to the door. That night, I slept in a bus shelter. The next morning, a trash bag with my clothes sat on the porch, a note penned to it. "You're on your own now. Learn something from Miss." No one called. No one checked on me. For 3 years, I was gone. I worked, got a degree, and started a tiny marketing business 3 towns away, finally feeling free. My freedom ended with a text from my mom. My face was on a billboard, a local young entrepreneur spotlight. The calls started, one after another, from everyone who had abandoned me. David, my parents, my relatives, all suddenly so warm and supportive. I didn't reply. I knew what they wanted. A voicemail from my mom confirmed it. David and his wife Anna needed a place to stay. They wanted to move into my home. A week later, my mother showed up on my doorstep with banana bread and a fake smile. She said she just wanted to catch up, but I saw the truth in her eyes. David and Anna had lost their apartment, and they were expecting a baby. "You kicked me out with the trash bag and a note," I said, my voice steady. "And now you want me to give up my home for the son you threw me away for?" A flicker of shame crossed her face, quickly replaced by indignation. "Well, you've clearly done well for yourself, so maybe it wasn't a bad thing after all." I just smiled. "No, Mom. I'm just done being useful to people who only remember I exist when they need something." I closed the door on her. That night, lying in bed, I couldn't escape the thought of her standing on my porch. The memory of my own desperation, a 17-year-old kid with $12 and a trash bag, felt sharp and real all over again. I felt a fleeting pang of guilt, that familiar ache of wondering if I was the bad guy now. But then I remembered the way my mother had looked at me, with pure, cold disappointment. How she cried for David while I stood there, accused of a crime I didn't commit. I remembered her telling people at church I was a rebellious kid who chose the streets. I owed them nothing. But I wasn't done. Something inside me wanted more than just my own peace. It wanted accountability. I drafted a message, not to them, but to my extended family, my aunts, uncles, cousins, the people who had heard my parents' version of the story for years. I told them everything about the car wreck, the lie I took the blame for, the trash bag, the years of silence. I even attached a screenshot of a text David had sent me years ago, bragging about how easy it was to get rid of me. I hit send, and for the first time in a long time, I felt a sense of control. The message tore through the family group chat like a wildfire. My phone buzzed for hours. Messages poured in. "I never knew. Your parents said you ran away. I'm so sorry." Some were full of shock and sympathy, others just awkward and full of misplaced guilt. It didn't matter. I didn't do it for pity. I did it for the truth. Then a name I never expected showed up in my inbox. Anna, David's wife. "I'm so sorry," her message read. "He told me you were unstable and violent." She said she felt sick. Her next message was even more shocking. She had left him last night. Apparently, she had read my email out loud to him, and when he tried to grab her phone and screamed at her for being naive, something inside her finally snapped. 7 months pregnant, she packed a bag and went to her sister's house. She told me she saw the pattern now and knew their baby deserved better. I didn't gloat. I just told her she did the right thing. But David never liked being exposed. 4 days later, leaving my favorite coffee shop, I heard someone call my name. I turned and saw him standing there, a shadow of the golden boy he used to be, unshaven, with sunken eyes. He was wearing the same varsity jacket he'd had since high school. He walked closer, too close, the smell of cheap beer on his breath. "You think you're better than me now? What, you want everyone to feel bad for you? You think anyone gives a damn about your sob story?" I didn't raise my voice. I just looked at him. "You lied." His laugh was bitter. "So what? You survived, didn't you? You got your big house and your little billboard, so quit crying." He wanted me to scream, to cry, to fight. So I didn't. I just stepped around him, opened my car door, and said one last thing. "You lied, I thrived, and now you have to live with that." I left him standing alone in the parking lot. I remember my grandmother's words, her hands folded neatly in her lap, listening to me recount everything. The email, the flood of messages, the confrontation with David in the parking lot. She was the only one who never needed proof. "You did good," she said. That's all I needed. A week later, a certified letter arrived from my parents' lawyer. They were threatening a defamation lawsuit over my email. I laughed. My own lawyer, a new acquisition, told me to relax. The claims were baseless. David's own written admission, which I had attached, would bury them. They went quiet again. I guess when you're no longer useful, you disappear. But there was still one more thing I needed to do. Something to mark the end, not with anger, but with purpose. I found the note they left on my trash bag all those years ago. "You're on your own now. Learn something from this." I had it framed. It now hangs in my office, right next to my Chamber of Commerce award. Some people frame their diplomas. I framed a warning and turned it into a promise. I walked through my grandmother's garden, a place she called her living prayer. She had helped me plant it myself just last month. Lavender, rosemary, and marigolds. I could still see the faded gloves she had left hanging on the fence. I swallowed the bitterness because this wasn't about them anymore. It was about her. She passed away 3 weeks later at my home, the one they said I didn't deserve. I held her hand as her breaths grew shallower, and she said, "Promise me you'll plant something new every spring. That's how you start over." She left me a truth I never expected, a final act of justice. Under her bed, I found a small wooden box containing old journal entries, pages yellowed with time. She had documented everything. The lies, the staged accusations, the way my mother called me a mistake when she thought no one was listening. Proof! At the bottom of the box was a notarized deed transferring her house to me. She had made me the sole heir. The funeral was small, just a list of names who would stand with me in silence, not trying to rewrite history. But of course, my parents and David showed up anyway. My mother approached me after the final prayer, looking at my house, my garden, the community of friends and colleagues who had chosen me. "Is it true?" she asked, her voice quiet. "Did she leave it all to you?" I looked her in the eye and said the one thing she had always denied me. Yes. That night, they left a letter on my doorstep. It was a formal request for temporary accommodation for healing and transition. They wanted to live in the house, her house, the same one they had abandoned her in when she took me in. I sat there for a long time, and then I wrote back. "Dear Mr. and Mrs. Turner, thank you for your interest in staying at the residence located at 49 Maplewood Lane. At this time, all rooms are currently occupied by peace, silence, dignity, and the long overdue scent of lavender. As such, we are unable to accommodate guests who abandoned these values in the past. May you find shelter in the structures you built with your choices. Kindly despair no more." I posted it online and it went viral. Today, I planted a single white rose bush in my grandmother's garden, just as I promised. It's called Rebirth. The story doesn't end with anger or exile. It ends with roots. I am not a spare. I am the seed that survived.